Hi, everybody. I am here to show you how you can make a graph in Google Sheets. So the first thing is you will get a blank spreadsheet that has been assigned to you. I made a copy for each of you in your Google Classroom, so that's going to be your first step. I also have given you some information about the data that you're going to enter. So I'm going to start out by typing in square A1 time in minutes. And when you look at this, you want to make sure you're capitalizing the words of the title. This is a title, so it has to be capitalized. And I also want to make sure I bold it. Now you're going to see that it passes a little over the line of the cell. So if I go between the two cells and hold it arrows, I can drag it out just a little bit so that it fits in the cell. And then I also want to do temperature. Check your spelling, make sure you are spelling things correctly. Temperature in degrees Celsius, again, I want to bold it. And then I'm also going to drag this column out a little bit so it fits. Now I'm going to do just random data. You guys are going to have data that you need to use. All the way down because my number lock was on. So I want to make sure I'm back in A2. So I'm going to do 1 minute, 2, 3. I'm just going to do 4 minutes or 5 minutes rather, just for the sake of you not having to watch this for very long. So 10:20. Never type good when people are watching. Okay. So the next thing I'm going to do is I'm going to highlight the boxes that I'm using. So usually I find that it helps to go from the bottom right and go up. Not if it doesn't want to cooperate, you just go, there you go. Okay. So we're going to do a little bit of magic here. Insert chart. Dun, 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 dun. Remember that if the cells down here don't like letters, so if you put letters or anything like that or symbols into these boxes outside of the titles, you're going to get a graph error. So you have to make sure that you are only using numbers in these spots. Okay, so I have my graph, and we're going to go through a little bit about the changes that you can make to your graph to personalize it. Okay, so I have my chart here, and I'm in Chart Editor. If for any reason you lose this menu, so I'm just going to close it just so you see, I lost my menu, double click, and it'll come back. Just double click on your chart. Okay, so for this particular graph, I want to do a line chart. I don't think that any of the other options, I don't want to do a scatter or column or area chart for this one. What I want to do is compare how the time is impacting the temperature. So the temperature is going up over time, and that's why I want to use this particular chart. There is a smooth line chart, and there is also a combo chart. I prefer just to see the lines. In some cases, you might want to do a column chart. So if I ever say that you're going to make a bar chart or a column chart, what that does is compares usually one thing to something else. So for example, if I surveyed 50 students, this many preferred Snickers, this many preferred Milky Way, etc., etc. And then a pie chart would be if I was doing percentages. So like out of a whole group of people, I surveyed 100 students, and 50 of them preferred Milky Way, and 45 preferred Snickers, and 5% preferred M&Ms. So I'm going to go back to my line chart, which I think is the best option here. That's about the only thing we're going to do in this setup menu right here, is just really change our chart. The majority of our work is going to be done in Customize. So Customize, I want to start out with looking at, again, here's another way we can do chart style, but here's some stuff that's really cool about it. This is where you're going to be able to do your background color, the font theme kind of for most of your chart, and then if you want to do a border color. So in this case, you're going to notice that my words are written in black, and I want to do a black background. So before I do anything else, I want to come back. I want to worry about these titles and things first and change some colors, and then I'll come back and do my background color. But I do also want to change my font, so I'm going to do Comic Sans. So you'll notice it changed all of our data on here so far. So if you do your font from the chart style menu, you only have to do it one time. Okay, so going down, we're going to start with our titles, chart and axis titles. So here is a drop down. This is going to let me do my chart title, my horizontal axis, which is going across, and my vertical axis title, which is going up and down. These are in Comic Sans already, and they are a regular font size, and you can either bold or italicize and change their color. So right now they're auto. The title text is auto. I'm going to change this to be this pretty pinkish color, purpley right there. So that is my vertical axis title. And I do think it's important that you match your vertical and horizontal title colors and fonts, just because I think that makes things look a little bit more uniform, which is important when you're doing something that's academic. Okay, so for this one, I'm going to do also the purple color. You'll notice down here I have these guys, these numbers. We can change their color as well. I'm going to make them white, which is going to make them disappear for a minute, but that's okay. Same thing here. I'm going to make them white, which is going to make them disappear for a minute. And that's okay. We'll come back to that in a second. What I do need to do before I move on to go back to my chart background color is I do need to do my chart and axis title. I did horizontal already when I put my data in. This is time in minutes. My temperature in degrees Celsius is my vertical, but I need to do my chart title, the title of my chart. What I notice a lot of students doing is leaving whatever the default is that comes out of Sheets when you make your chart. But this is not the temperature. This chart is not about the temperature in degrees Celsius versus time in minutes. This chart is about how the temperature of water changes over time. It is about the change in state of boiling water. Because we're starting with water at room temperature, and we started with our temperature of our water, and then we saw how is it changing over time. This title should indicate to whoever is looking at your chart what this chart is about. Without having done the lab, without knowing any further information, without seeing any of this should be enough to tell them what's going on. For this guy, I want to center him. So I went to title format and center. And I want to change the color to be this pretty greenish color. And now I can go back, and I'm going to go back and change my background. So top menu, top line here, chart style. I want to do my background color black. Look how cool that looks. Okay, so let's do some other stuff. So we talked about our chart and axis titles. Again, this is a drop down. This lets you pick your chart title, your horizontal, your vertical. You can also double click just on the titles that are already there, and you're able to change those there. It'll bring up your menu as well. So nextly, we have series. So series is going to allow me to change my line color. Or if I was doing a bar graph, it would allow me to change the colors of the bars. So let's see. I think I want to do this pretty green. So I changed my color. You can choose here what kind of line you'd like. Would you like a dot, 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 dash, 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 dot, dash, dot, long dash, long dash, long dash, dot, long dash, dot. You can choose how thick you want the line to be. You can make it really thick. I'm going to go back to 2. I just feel like that's a little bit more reasonable. And you can put points on here, which is going to help us to know what is the exact temperature at each interval, at each minute. So since I only have 5 minutes here in a short range of temperatures, this is not, I have kind of far spaces in between. But if you had more times, which you guys will have, this is going to be a lot more smushed together. And that is a very technical term, smushed together. So points will tell me what exactly is happening at 1 minute, at 2 minutes, at 3 minutes. So I can pick a square or a triangle or diamond, and you can see what happened with those, and you can choose the size. I think that's a little big, so I'm going to make them a little smaller. Something else really cool that I like to do is put a data label on my squares. So you can see that a data label shows me that at 1 minute, I was at 10 minutes, 10 degrees Celsius. At 2 minutes, I was at 20, and so on and so on. So that label allows me to know what is going on. And the font here is for the data label. I want it to match everything else. And you can change the text color of your data label to be whatever color you want. So I'm going to make it white. Nextly, we have our legend. The legend is the key. In this case, we have one line, so I'm not comparing anything. Let's say that I was doing this experiment and I was comparing hot water versus cold water. Then I would have 2 lines, in which case I would want to say that the red line represents hot water and the blue line represents cold water. Or if I had a bunch of bars, I would want to say that, like, for example, the pink bar represents Starburst and the orange bar represents M&Ms, and so on and so on. For your legend, again, your key, you can put that wherever you want. You can put it at the top. I kind of feel like it's nice to have your legend at the bottom. So this is telling me what this green, and you can't see the color, so we have to make the text of it white so we can see what it says. But it says that this green line is for temperature in degrees Celsius. Down here, we have our horizontal axis. This is, again, where I can change this information here if I don't like the colors or any of that information. I can also do this here. So let's say I don't want these numbers to be white. I could make them purple. Or I could make them orange, but I like the white, so I'm going to keep it white. And then you have your vertical axis, which is going to be responsible for what's going on here. Maybe you want these to be a different color. That's where you're going to change that. We have, lastly, grid lines and ticks. So for grid lines and ticks, this is where you can make these lines going up and down and across a little bit more visible. So our major grid line color, I'm going to keep it white, and you'll see how it makes these lines show up. I can also do minor grid lines. And I'm not really sure what the ticks are, so we're going to leave that alone. Okay, so there you have it. That's how you're going to make yourself a chart in Google Sheets.